of Ghada. I would like to welcome you all in the Egyptian Center for the Economic Studies. It's our pleasure having you with us in one of the most important research branch that is adopted by the center, which is very important, and today is the first workshop. Before talking about the agenda, I would like to talk quickly about the strategical trend of the center in its activities. The Egyptian Center is a research center, non-profitable center. It has a strategic perspective, which is achieving the economic sustainability throughout social justice and economic effectiveness. This too, the y-axis is talking about the economic effectiveness, and the z-axis is referring to the social justice. If they work together in a goodwill, they will reach the square over there. If they don't work together, if I have a weak distribution, if I have poverty, any research activity will take us to this way. That's what we are working on. We are not a research center like the talking about theoretical issues, but we are working practically, and our research, all our researchers are practical research and can be applicable. Can you go back, please? Let's first of all introduce my colleagues, the engineer Ghada Labib from the Ministry of Planning and Monitoring. She's here on behalf of Dr. Hala Said. Unfortunately, because of the visit of Macron, the President of France, she is in a meeting with him, but actually we are very happy with her. She is representing herself personally, and she's a professional in the IT, and officially she is representing her Excellency Minister Hala Said. We have also Engineer Salah. He is representing personally himself, and officially he is representing Dr. Amr Talat, the Minister of Communication. And I'm focusing on officially representation because we are talking about an adaptation of the agenda. It is not just inviting ministers and that's it. No, we are talking about a serious agenda. Very quickly, I'm going to say something. Are we okay like this or not? Sorry. Quickly, I will talk about what is the main objective of the workshops, which is today the first workshop, and why we are taking the governmental analysis, and who are the beneficiaries entities, and what are the recommendations, and what are the outcomes. The main objectives is to help to have a specific vision for the Egyptian government for the digital transformation from all aspects. There are lots of trials for the digital transformation. There are lots of initiatives by the government. So the question is if these initiatives will lead to a clear vision that we want to reach. The second objective is to have a detailed agenda for the digital transformation, and what are the requirements that should be studied in details in order to reach our objective. So why we are talking about the analyzed point of view from the governmental perspective. For example, in the bank department, they are working on the digitalization. So what is the story with the governmental perspective? We mean by this all the activities and the regulations and the procedures that are done by the government represent half of the activities of the state. We have to put in consideration this, for example, when we complain about environment and about cars, for example, It's actually the government's activities. So half of the activities, as I mentioned, they are taken by the government. And for sure, all the decisions that they are taken by the government, they affect the other departments and the other sectors. For this reason, this is our main objective, is the analytical point of view throughout the governmental perspective, because it will sure negatively or positively affect the other activities. What did we do? We put a table, and by the way, it's a timetable, and it's going to be given to you. It's a matrix, as you can see, for the workshops that we are going to conduct. We are going to conduct about 20 workshops. Our problem in Egypt that we just we don't take the fine details of the issues. The level 0 or 0 level, we have 2 workshops. We are going to talk about the proper way for the digital transformation and what are the models for the best practices all over the world. Level 1, we are talking about the horizontal issues. Among it, the obstacles and the challenges or the things that can help the digital transformation of the infrastructure, protecting the database, protecting the information, the regulatory framework, the governance, generally speaking, and its effect on the digitalization. Then level 2, we will talk about the indications, mainly the property registration, the cross-border trade. This is considered to be part of the horizontal level. They are different from the above items, but actually they are very important for what's coming next. Then level 3, we are going to talk about the productive and the service departments and sectors. Here we'll talk about the non-financial institutions and the banks. So when we talk about the governmental system, we mean the trade banks and how they are affected by the decisions of the government and the decisions of the central bank. So I'm tackling all the aspects. We are talking about the health department, education, the manufacturing department, agriculture, including the electronic trade and the physical and the financial dimension, because actually this is affect the and also the social service. So this is the matrix that we are dealing with, and we have workshops that is related to all these items, and each item we are going to talk in details. We ask very clear questions. What are the governmental initiatives? What are the current governmental initiatives, and what is their position in affecting the digitalization transformation? What's lacking? What are the obstacles of this initiatives? What are the gaps? What are the role of the stakeholders? What is the time table in order to bridge this gap? And what are the technological tools needed? For this reason, it's a long agenda. It will take about 6 months, and our main objective is whenever we finish with this workshops, we will conduct a big forum or a conference to talk about the objectives and to. So it's very important, the ownership, to start the process with the beneficiary stakeholders, the Ministry of Communication, the Ministry of Planning, Monitoring and Administrative Reform. These are considered to be the owners. We will start with them, and then we are going to give them this research agenda, and all the governmental entities, I mean the whole society, who are the entities that they are going to share to be with us, who the communication entities, the NGOs, everyone and his uncle, as we say, or is affected with the issues, the outcomes that we wish to reach. we are trying to bridge a gap even in the definitions that they are related to the digital transformation. What is the definition of automation? What is the definition of digitalization? Throughout 20 workshops and throughout 9 reports, we are going to put an action plan about the absent elements and the timetable and the responsible entities, because this is what we are going to submit in the conference or in the forum, and also we are going to have a report for each workshop. So this quickly speaking or talking about what we are intending to do. So the first part of the session, I would like to start with Engineer Ghada. I would like to ask you first, what do you think? What do you think about our workshops? What do you think how we really need this kind of workshops? You have like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. In the name of God, good morning, everybody. Actually, once I saw the audience, I said, no, I'm not going to look at my speech because it's very technical. Actually, I would like to thank Dr. Abla. She's a sister. She's a dear friend. And the audience, I know most of you professors, my colleagues, so it's my honor to be with you today and to be here in the Economic Center. This is not my first visit to the center, and it is not the first time to participate in the activities. This file is very important for the government, and actually Mr. President is focusing on this file, and actually psychologically we have to say that the Ministry of Planning, Monitoring and Administrative Reform is not the only one responsible for this file. No, we are a group of partners, the government, NGOs, the society, because we can't work by ourselves. I have many partners in the administrative reform file, like the Ministry of Communication. We work very close together on certain issues and certain files. How did we build our plan? And I'm going back to your question later on. We have the Constitution 2014 and the related laws related to the public service, administrative reform. We totally depend on this and the objectives, the NDGs, and especially the goal number 16. For sure, all the goals, all the 17 goals are very important, but goal number 16, this is the one I am concerning with, and the vision of Egypt, the Egyptian vision 2030, the transparency and the effectiveness of the institution. And it was my pleasure to work with Dr. Amr, with the group of work when we announced the Egyptian vision 2030. We are working with Her Excellency, the Minister of Planning and Monitoring, with the cooperation with 4 ministers. The latest one that joined us is the Ministry of Communication, and 4 experts. We have Dr. Ashraf Abdel Wahab, Engineer Hani Mahmoud, the former Minister of Communication, and Mr. Medhat Madani, the human resource expert. We meet with the Prime Minister almost 4 times a year. We submit the plans to him that we are implementing. In addition to this, we have a technical secretary, and I'm the chief of this technical secretary, and we have also subcommittees responsible for the legislation reform and the administrative and the financial reform. There are lots of things that I can talk about, but I'll go back to the main objective of the workshop, from what is the role of the government. From my own point of view, I see that it is the design for the future is to know or to be aware of the current situation, to be aware of the digitalization, the new technology, and how this is very important and affecting the global economies. And as you see, who are the countries that they were pioneers and leaders as a revenue and as profit in the year 208, and comparing it to 2018, you will see the General Electrics and other. And you will see also a company like Uber, Airbnb. They have only mobile applications and that's it. So how these companies are very strong, and like Amazon and like Alibaba. So you as a government or as leaders in the government, you have to be aware of these importance and how to think to update and to improve yourself in order to co-op with the technology. In the recent past years, according to the statistics, 90% of the information, only 90% of the information. So can you imagine how will be the situation in 2030? So this subject is very important. It starts with the awareness and the design and planning for the future. We have, thank God, we have youth. And it was my pleasure to be the assistant of the Minister of Communication. And I worked with Dr. Salah in the IT, innovation and creation, and I have actually energy, I have youth, I have capabilities. So what are the initiatives that I'm going to conduct in order to serve my development goals, like the platform and the million programmers? We have a protocol with Emirates that was signed in February 2018. Her Excellency signed this protocol with Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid. One of the most important aspects is the prize for the smart applications for the university students. I have more than 50,000 students in the public and the private universities. We choose the 10 departments in the government, like the interior, the exterior, Ministry of Affairs, the communication, to know what are their capabilities, and they start doing the innovation and the creation, and to design a mobile application, and we give the winner £1,000,000 Egyptian pounds. These students, they should be a group of work, not an individual, not a single person. Just to make them learn how to work in a group is very important. This group will be from 3 to 8 persons. It's not a condition to be from one university. We are working with this with the Ministry of Higher Education, and we started working on the e-flyers and the awareness, and in the High Council for the public and the private universities, and also the cooperation with the Ministry of the Minister of Higher Education. He conducted a committee with us and with the High Council for public and private universities. So our main objective is to make the student participate with what the government is working on. So this will help us to have a kind of awareness, to know about the challenges and the obstacles that we face. So we are targeting the universities after the mid-year vacation. And we are going to start talking to the students, telling them what is the role of the government, what are the initiatives of the government, and how they are going to participate and to be partners with the government. So there are lots of initiatives that we would like to talk about. We know that this is a very important issue. If I will talk about what we do in the challenges, in the automation is, and how we are trying to change the mentality and the culture of the employees. The greatest obstacle and the greatest challenge is the mindset. How to build bridges of trust. The problems that we face, the most important is the bridges of trust. The government trusts the citizen, and the citizen trusts the government. I don't deal with the citizen that he is corrupted, that he is a thief, and on the other side, the citizen don't look at the government that again you should pay a bribe in order to get your service, or that is a corrupted government. So corruption actually, and to be aware of corruption is very important, because it's very dangerous, more than the corruption itself. So this is very important that the government should focus on it and to put in consideration, because all these thoughts are in the mindset of the employees. So if I would like to talk about some of the quickly, no, actually, am I going to talk again, or that's it? Questions? because actually I have statistics that I would like to talk about. There will be specific workshops on the governmental services. This is just give us a general idea. No, you're going to be here again. This is like the take off. We are going to have a whole journey together. Before ending, I think that I learned it throughout my work. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't know. I don't know how to design or to plan the future to the students, to the youth, to the citizens. And when we talk to them, it's in a very disappointing way. So I think that this is the role of the government, to give hope and to create hope for the citizens. This is something very important.
If the government plays its own role and everything is okay, youth are going to create the future without any push from anybody. They were not gonna need anything. We have just to adjust the platform. Thank you so much, Engineer, for your work and for your interest in implementing the Constitution of 2017, administrative reform. And you mentioned that the administrative reform is not the responsibility of the MOPMAR only, because this is the biggest mistake, that we make them assume the whole responsibility, but it's not right. If we work right, we have to share the responsibility. And one of the things that why we adopt the comprehensive approach is that it's involved in the issue. We do not have to play alone our one role. We have to depend on each other. Doctor, you have the floor. Engineer Ghada has not finished in 7 minutes, so I'm going to take as well more time. 2 minutes extra I'm going to take. At the outset, of course, I would like to thank Dr. Abla for her invitation. It's an honor for me to be here with you. And it's an honor for me to be with Engineer Ghada and being number of experts and professors. And I would like to begin by conveying the salute of the Dr. Talat and the things that you have covered in the few slides at the beginning. I think that it's a very good thing. And this is the approach, a comprehensive approach. I'm going to flirt with these previous slides. In fact, the approach or the methodology is excellent. The steps, as I've mentioned before to Dr. Abla when I received the invitation, that because I've worked on the ICT issue for lots of years, more than 30 years, the methodology written in the envelope, the description that talks about the institutional structure and the solutions that are appropriate for this structure and the sustainability of solutions, these three things, if you are a specialist in the field, you are going to understand their significance and their meaning. There might be few words, but they are deep with respect to the meaning. And we use the sustainability and digitalization terms, but unfortunately, so few people understand their meaning. And as Dr. Abla said, we have to differentiate between digitalization and automation. This is a confusion that we always suffer from. In fact, I do not need as well to talk about the plan of the ministry, and His Excellency more than once has announced that we are conducting so many activities, and the city of Port Said, the programs and services that we offer. So I'm not going to repeat this because I expect you to know it, but I'm going to focus on the importance of the workshops, as was mentioned by Dr. Abla, and the analysis and the matrix that we have developed. This is very important with respect to the sequence of our thoughts, so that we achieve valuable results. Digitalization for me We see it as tangible thing in companies, and as we do it in companies, we have to do it on the state level. God disrupted. It's called disrupted technology. So many companies were there and they faced obstacles. One of the companies, I don't know if I can mention names, in 2009 there was a company in mobile field. It was manipulating almost all the home market. In 2014 Nokia got disrupted, but I avoid mentioning names. But there were other companies that took 50% of the market in 2009. And in 2013 it got bankrupt. And so many other companies we can mention, for example, the Blockbuster company that was working in videos. We wanted to if we wanted to take video or anything, we had to stand in queues. It was BlackBerry. It got disrupted as well. So state as well can get disrupted. So if state now is facing obstacles, this is a problem. But the privilege or the advantage is that in this transitional period, we can have pioneering companies, states. The technology and the disturbance that we have faced in technology might cause people to deteriorate, but they can as well at the same time help states to grow quickly. And the factor that governs this has to do with the human resources. And in fact, Egypt has always been rich in human resources, and we have the youth. And I'm not going to talk about figures, that the figures that we have identified in the ecosystem and in the system of technology, creativity or innovation. Nothing can describe the situation of Egypt. We still have so many things to do because Egypt has to be the pioneer in everything, number one in everything. But what we can say is that we have faced great development thanks to the youth. So for the digitalization to be a reality, you have to focus on having a methodology, clear methodology or a clear approach, mechanisms and steps be adopted by all the systems and agencies of the state. I have always been working in something that we call, after being a developer, working on improving processes or operations. Process improvement was a very famous term once in the past. So the process improvement, we were talking about the process and how to improve it. By time, and at that time we were working according to standards ITIL and TUGAF and CMI and SPICE and all the standards that we have. And then now we are talking about digitalization. The whole issue now has to do with that the software now is eating everybody, or is eating companies. Today, everything is going to be digital. Even the bottom-making company is going to be digital. So this is the digitalization of the services and the products and the processes and operations. And thus, based on my own expertise and experience, when we were working on the process improvement, we were talking about when we enter something new or to do something new, we have to think about the methodological framework to work accordingly. So the framework abides 100% by the development of the institutional framework and the methodology that we have to have it. And I'm so much interested being responsible of the file of the electronics and linking this with the mega projects like what happens with the tablet and the educational field. What's interesting is that you involve the educational sector and the industry sector, and this is very important and is according to the services that we offer. The last thing that we have developed, because the government is playing a clear role and an excellent role. We have just launched a week ago what we name SURA. SURA, SURA, Smart University Reference Architecture. Smart University Reference Architecture. Dr. Abla, when she's going to conduct a workshop of the education sector, I'm going to bring her the theme of SURA because it's a reference architecture, how to digitalize the education. But we were focusing on how to digitalize the Egyptian universities, how to make the Egyptian universities digital, and understand the difference between the outputs and outcomes, capabilities and resources, because by the end, the whole world now is working on building capabilities, the soft skills, not by bringing resources and establishing something. We focus on the capability of the asset and not on the resource or the traditional things. So we launched SURA lately, and we have conducted pilot projects with one of the private universities in Egypt, and we went to this university and we implemented the methodology or the approach that you have described with all the steps, and we implemented SURA on this methodology, how to identify the appropriate technology for the universities so that it is smart university, and how to achieve sustainability after being smart university. And the advantage of SURA is that with some modifications it can be implemented in other sectors of the state, health sector for example. But what we are going to change is the capability area. I'm not going to talk technical, but despite the fact that I love this, but when we talk about capabilities of education, how to improve the capabilities and make the education digital and smart, what we are going to focus on? We are going to focus on assessment, on learning, on classroom, to have something that we call a smart classroom, a campus of the university or of the school. If we talk about schools, and we focus on support and operations. So this is the categorization of the health sector, industry sector, and education sector. And I think that the deliverables that we are going to achieve from these workshops, in my personal opinion, if we can identify a reference architecture for the institutional structure in these fields, and to have in Egypt competence center, like the center that I'm the leader of, the pragmatic studies center that I'm a leader of, support the private sector to implement the reference architecture and identify a roadmap for it, the appropriate technology, how to identify the business goals and transform them into technology goals, and how to guarantee sustainability of this. So the deliverables of these workshops, we are ready as government to cooperate with these workshops and be one of their beneficiaries and participating parties as well. And we understand well the steps and approach that are going to add big value to the activities that we are going to conduct. Thank you, Dr. Abla, and I wish success to this initiative. Thank you, Dr. Hossam. Of course, one of our deliverables is going to be the reference architecture, and we are going to need, of course, your support in that respect.